Finally get to do this review. Wild Turkey has unveiled their new bourbon titled Generations, which marks the first time Jimmy, Eddie, and Bruce Russell have collaborated on a single whiskey, in which collectively reflects more than a century of bourbon making experience. So this will be a two-part episode, part one now, part two tomorrow. We will get into that, but today we try the 2023 Wild Turkey Generations. Big expectations with an even bigger price tag. Stay right here, it's the Mash and Drum. What's up, folks? I'm Jason C. from the Mash and Drum, and welcome back to the show. Like, subscribe, help grow the channel for 2023. Thank you so much, WhiskeyTube family. So, as I mentioned, this limited release from Wild Turkey reflects more than a century of bourbon making experience. Why? Well, this blend features 4 hand-selected whiskeys that showcase the varied palates and personal preferences of Jimmy, Eddie, and Bruce Russell, grandfather, father, and son. Pretty cool.
I love you, Dad.
With Generations, we set out to make a whiskey that was truly a celebration of family and bold spirit, said newly appointed Wild Turkey Associate Blender, Bruce Russell. My dad always says we are more than the name on the bottle, and this is my first opportunity to bring my own point of view while also applying everything I've learned from him and my granddad. We love this whiskey and are so proud of the story it tells. So who selected what? All right, so let's get a pour of this first here. So Bruce Russell, like his grandfather Jimmy, prefers bold bourbon flavors which come through in the 12-year-old bourbon he selected for the blend. Eddie likes the vanilla heavy flavors that typically come from older bourbons, such as the 15 and 14-year-old whiskeys he and Bruce picked together. Jimmy stayed true to his palate like he always has and ended up selecting a 9-year-old bourbon for the blend. All right, so here are the rest of the details. Generations is bottled at 120.8 proof. It is non-chill filtered with approximately 5,000 bottles releasing. It's the first release from Wild Turkey to feature the 3 signatures of all 3 Russells on the custom etched bottle, as well as 3 turkey feathers that represent each Russell on the back of the bottle. The suggested retail price of this one though, $450. So as you all saw in the close-ups, this is essentially the Master's Keep bottle shape without the embossed turkey on it. As you saw, the 3 feathers are in the back that represent each of the Russells, and here are the 3 signatures that you see. And actually on the side of the bottle, it gives you a little bit of the story of how the bourbon came to be, gives you all the ages as we just went through. So I do love the story of this. I mean, I always feel like no matter your feelings towards Wild Turkey, whether you like the bourbon or not, it's honestly tough to not truly appreciate the Russells. I mean, Jimmy began working at Wild Turkey in 1954. He taught his son Eddie. He kind of rose through the ranks. He was inducted into the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame in 2010 in his own right. Then he brought in Bruce, who started as an ambassador, and now he's been recently named a blender. I think they're a big reason why, you know, a lot of people, including myself, just love visiting Wild Turkey whenever I'm in Kentucky. So, all right, let's dive in here. Man, the nose here has just completely changed from when I first opened this bottle. I mean, when I first opened it, it just smelled like pure alcohol. I'm like, where are all the flavors here? What is going on with this blend? I think maybe the more time it had to kind of open up, get past the shoulder, really helps this bourbon. So if anybody has this bottle already, it definitely needs some airtime. Most blends do though. So you get some nice dark, rich caramel flavors here. Obviously, you get your vanillas that, you know, Eddie loves, but the one thing that's a little bit reminiscent of the Bottled & Bond 17-year Master's Keep is this really rich cherry note. You definitely get the oak punch here, nice older age, sweet oak here, maybe a little tobacco leather type thing going on. Typically I get a lot of cinnamon from Wild Turkey, but I'm not getting as much cinnamon as I am a clove. It's a little bit of a darker type of feel to it, especially with that older whiskey in it. Now they don't give you the proportions as far as what's in this blend. As far as like, you know, the 9-year, the 12-year, then the 14 and 15, you don't really know the proportions, but you can definitely smell some older whiskey in here. All right, let's give it a go. Cheers. Man, it's got some great flavors to it here. It's really beautifully balanced. Obviously, the different types of bourbons working together here. Great spice, a lot of sweet up front. It has that toffee orange like type of combination that I pretty much, you know, love from turkey. Need another sip here. All right, yeah, there's the cherry. The more you get into this, I really feel like that the oak and the cherry and some of that really nice spice that you know from turkey just really comes to the forefront here. The finish on this is great. I get the toffee, I get kind of like that orange marmalade type note that kind of sneaks in there, but it's mixed in with like that, you know, the older oak note there. So kind of takes you on a nice balance. I will say there's nothing in this bourbon that's I don't know, standing out. I mean, it's a very rich and very well balanced bourbon, but I don't know. The dark fruit notes are now becoming almost like a black raspberry. This cherry black raspberry note is really just punching through. It's a, even at 120.8 proof, it comes off as a little bit less than that. I think it's a little bit more delicate and layered. I think there's a lot going on here. I do feel like this sips a little bit like one of the, you know, like one of the older, like the Master's Keep 17s, where it's a little bit more oak forward. It's not a punch you in the face type of whiskey, even though the proof would maybe say otherwise. However, it does give you some layered flavors in between. But man, is this $450 good? Yeah, this beautiful cherry raspberry note, baking spice, long finish, way better than what I tasted the first time when I first tasted this bourbon. This has definitely changed for the better. Now, as I mentioned, this is part one. So whatever my feelings are today about Generations, I will pretty much put that to the test in part two tomorrow. I'm gonna be blinding this against Russell's 13, Russell Single Rickhouse, Camp Nelson F, and Wild Turkey Rare Breed. So we'll see how that does, so you guys can expect that video tomorrow. So, all right, last sip, then we'll do a final breakdown. The more you sip this, the more that dark fruit note comes out, and I love that about this. That cherry raspberry combination, I think, is extremely different than most other turkey blends that I've had, and I do think that's kind of the outlier here. It's got the great flavor up front, it's got the great spice, it's got a good viscosity front to back, but man, that cherry raspberry combination note that I'm getting right at the mid palate is what's putting this over the edge for me. But is it $450 worth it? Final breakdown time. All right, final breakdown on the Wild Turkey Generations. MSRP $450 for this bottle. Secondary market value, you're looking at anywhere from $500 to maybe $600 or $700, I think would be the highest that I've seen so far. Not a huge markup, but $450 I feel like is high enough. Availability is obviously gonna be limited, guys. We're looking at probably around 5,000 bottles, maybe less. Value for this one, I'm gonna say low. I think it's a low value for what you're getting in the bottle. Obviously, there's some higher aged whiskey in here. I think they're really leaning on the story to kind of bring you this bottle, which is a great story. And obviously I love Wild Turkey and I love the Russells. However, when you compare it to bottles like Four Roses 135th, but it has even older whiskey in it for a lot cheaper, then you're kind of putting yourself behind the eight ball. So I'm gonna say it's a low value. Most I'd pay, you know, obviously it's already pretty expensive. I would not overpay for this. So if you're choosing to pay for this bottle, do not go a penny over retail. As far as alternatives to this one that are available, I mean, I think in part two tomorrow, we'll find out if any other of the Wild Turkey expressions could get close to this, but even some of those are harder to find when you're talking about the Camp Nelson Single Rickhouse or even Russell's 13. You have Elijah Craig barrel proof, especially the C9 23 that has, you know, 13 years and what, 7 or 9 months. That's the lowest age in that small batch. There could be some higher end whiskey in there for less than $100. That could be a great, you know, alternative for that one as well. I would probably put the Remus Repeal blends up there too. The whiskey doesn't get as old as this. However, you know, it's a viable option for this bottle. All right, so does it skip? Is it a try before you buy, or is it a buy and back it up? So this to me is a clear try before you buy. And if you can't try before you buy it, this one I feel like I'm leaning towards skip right now. Now I'm gonna, you know, put it against some other great bourbons tomorrow from Wild Turkey, Russell's 13, the Camp Nelson Rickhouse, CNF, and then also Rare Breed, and see where exactly this falls in line. Now, there's nothing wrong with this bourbon. It's a beautifully integrated, well-blended bourbon. I love the story that they're telling with this one. I love the flavors in it. That raspberry cherry note is absolutely delicious. but is it $450 good? It's almost like, you know, Wild Turkey's a victim of their own success because you have Russell's picks that are so damn good, that can be so damn good, that you can get for 60, 70, 80 bucks in some places. Is this whiskey that much better than those? Right now, I don't think so. I don't think it's worth that high markup. I think what you're paying for is the collaboration between all three Russells, which is a beautiful thing. But overall, I think this kind of misses the mark when you're looking at the price point. I wish this bottle was closer to 200, maybe 250. 450, I think this is just a little bit too much to ask when you compared with all the other great Wild Turkey products on the market. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this review for Wild Turkey Generations. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the subscribe button below. Please hit the like button. And if you haven't yet, follow me on Instagram. Let me know down in the comments if you guys are in on this one, if you're a buyer. Do you want to see what happens in part 2 tomorrow when I put it up against some other Wild Turkey bottles? And I don't know. Let me know. Let me know what you think about this one. Is the price too high? Would you rather just stock up on Russell's picks? It's an interesting conversation, I think. Obviously, like I said, the story's great. The whiskey is great. But is it $450 great? As of right now, I don't think so. So with all that said, it's not about the whiskey. It's the people you share it with. Cheers, and I'll see you tomorrow right here on The Master and Drum. Take care, folks.